television shows. Usually, they come and go, with maybe between like 4 to 12 seasons normally. Maybe a show has run for 6 to 8 years, and the entire show became a product of its time perhaps. When you look at Seinfeld, don't you just instantly associate that retro media extensive song and that good old 4:3 aspect ratio with the early 90s? After watching the show, it doesn't exactly move noticeably towards current days, as in Jerry suddenly getting an iPhone 15 Pro Max for Christmas, as it did air for less than 10 years. If we go even further behind in time to, say, The Honeymooners, it's black and white, grainy, and the costume sets and everything is obviously from the 1950s. Not older, not newer. However, what if it airs for longer? What if a show runs so long that the same show, characters, and sometimes even the cast if it's animated, remain relevant for more than one generation? What if a show runs for so long that the 1 9-year-old character in the show has played with both the NES Zapper and all the way up to an Oculus VR headset, whilst being the same exact age for all that time? A show running for 30 years may sound like just numbers at first glance, but when you really think about it, that's 3 generational periods coexisting with the show's airing. That show has seen 3 entire decades of change in society and technology. It has even seen humor evolve from kids laughing at comic book pages to kids using this powerful modern technology to watch Skibbity Toilet for crying out loud. Sorry for bringing that up. I'm going to cover and talk about a few notable shows that have, in fact, been running for such incredible amounts of time. To make things easier, I will selectively be looking at shows with 1. Episodes still being made and the show still running and being produced. 2. Notable recognition, so apologies to those 3 longtime fans of Trupi Deshindedi from Albania. In addition to 3. Scripted episodes. And lastly, 4. The majority of the show staying the same, with exceptions like change of cast because, would you want to watch a 70-year-old grown man with balding, back problems and everything still portraying that same 3rd grader? Okay, I honestly think most people would be entertained by that. But aside from comedic purposes, it just wouldn't make sense. Another thing is, holy crap, this intro has been way too long. Let's just sit back for a couple of decades, relax, and grab some old expired popcorn as I cover some very interesting cases and histories behind some of the longest running television shows and why it is so interesting. SpongeBob Squarepants. So we're starting quite small with SpongeBob Squarepants, created by Stephen Hillenburg, with the first episode airing in 1999. This show has been running for around 25 years. Though this isn't very insane or crazy, it is a show typically associated with modern children. Aside from iPad kids, it is kinda interesting to think that a group of kids today watch the same show, starring the same characters and voice casts, as those who were, say, 8 in like 2001 and are now in their late 20s and early 30s. I want to address, however, that I am aware of Nickelodeon's excessive milking of the show, and that it wasn't originally intended by its creator to run after the first theatrical release, due to it actually being planned as being the show's finale, quote-unquote. But from what I've heard, it's not that horrible now, just not as good as it used to be. Although SpongeBob is the youngest and shortest running show in this video's collection, it has some unique interest factors that differs from the other longer running ones I'm going to cover. SpongeBob's first episode, Help Wanted, premiered on Nickelodeon on May 1st, 1999. And the thing that's kind of cool is the fact that SpongeBob, being a relatively quote-unquote recent show, started just right before the end of a time for cell animation, meaning that this show started in the old-fashioned way of painstakingly hand-painting the animation on celluloid frames before taking pictures of all the frames and piecing them together in a sequence along with the sound. The other longer running shows in this video were also originally animated the same way, though. This isn't one of the unique factors on its own, but still stands out due to the fact that it is considered a relatively modern show, and shows us just how quickly time has flown by since the previous millennium. SpongeBob was only traditionally cel animated for the first season before quickly transferring their production process to digital by season 2 in 2000. But I believe things can get quite interesting when we start comparing the coexistent airings from the eras. If we think of Nickelodeon first, what was airing at the time of SpongeBob's first airing were typical 90s Nickelodeon shows like Hey Arnold, Cat Dog, The Angry Beavers, and more. This may sound obvious, and these shows may not sound so old that it's crazy, but compare it to Nick's modern day shows that coexist with SpongeBob today, like The Loud House and... yeah, I think that's about it for current notable shows. Okay, but compare it to Skibbity Toilet then, now you get the point, right? Okay, let's move on to the next show. The Simpsons. The Simpsons family originally debuted as short skits on The Tracy Ullman Show in 1987, before premiering as its own TV show in 1989 and still running today. And boy, this one gets a lot more interesting age-wise. Just like SpongeBob, The Simpsons started out with a traditional way of animated by hand with cells. Though The Simpsons actually continued with this process all the way up to the mid to late 2000s, mixing traditional with digital by around the early 2000s. The show was created by Matt Groening and premiered with a Christmas special in December of 1989, and by 1990 it became a hit show. It was widely popular and recognized in the early 90s. I guess there is a reason the show is still running and that there still is an audience that watches the show, apparently. But by the end of the 90s, the show started being considered lowered in quality by fans and critics. The Simpsons did manage a theatrical release in 2007 that was highly acclaimed and still loved by many, however. But that's about it. Regardless of the show's decrease in quality, I mean, there are still people watching, right? They wouldn't just continue putting time into production on episodes like The Simpsons Plays Blocks if there was literally not a single person watching that episode. So I'm going to assume the show still has a viewer base. So, let's see what the 34-year aging of The Simpsons has brought us, and how we can compare the times to see just how long it has run. Starting off with the topic of video games. The Simpsons' 6th episode of Season 1 features Homer and Bart playing what seems to be a knock-off reference to the original Punch-Out. What's cool is the video games of this time, compared to what is played alongside the airing of the show today. In 1990, we had consoles like the Nintendo Entertainment System, which was right around its end before the, oh dear, Super Nintendo Entertainment System. And what's even cooler is the fact that The Simpsons actually released games for the NES at the time. One of the earliest Simpsons games was Bart vs. the Space Mutants for NES, along with a few other games released between 1991 and 1992. The Simpsons Tapped Out for iOS and Android devices is the most recent non-arcade Simpsons game. It was released in 2012, but I haven't heard about many people playing it for the past 5 years though. The Simpsons has released games since the NES, and from NES to SNES to Game Boy to the original PlayStation and GameCube to Wii all the way up to mobile devices. The Simpsons has seen and coexisted with the development and evolution of an entirely new medium and culture, the internet. Keep in mind, The Simpsons aired like 3 to 5 years before the web was even publicly available, so it has coexisted with the entire growth of the technology. The first episode where they used the internet though, according to my little research, was in 1998, when the internet was already starting to take off. The Simpsons has referenced all the way up to referencing the honestly pretty modern game Roblox. Or Bowblocks. I mean, hey, at least they didn't reference Skibbity Toilet. Like we did with SpongeBob, let's compare the coexisting shows and media at its launch and beginning to now. The Simpsons premiered in 1989, which was also when Seinfeld first premiered. Seinfeld was also a pretty big show during the 90s. Another show from around this time was The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. When it comes to music, The Simpsons debuted at a time of Phil Collins, Whitney Houston, and more, including maybe the most recognizable one of all, Michael Jackson. The cool thing is that The Simpsons had a music album released in 1990 based on the show, featuring a song called Do the Bartman, and that song had Michael Jackson produce it. Here, take a listen. I think I'm wrapping it up for now. I was originally planning to write about more shows, but when I finished writing about The Simpsons and started searching for older, notable, still running scripted shows with consistent characters, it got kind of difficult. I managed to find some that didn't have a lot of recognition, so I think I could safely say that The Simpsons may indeed be the most notable case when it comes to longer running shows. Though I did find out about Doctor Who, for instance, which is quite well known, I also have not watched the show whatsoever, so I feel like I would be talking about something I don't have knowledge in. But let me know if you really like this video, because if it succeeds, I can definitely make a video talking more in depth about the history of the longest running shows in history, regardless of it being scripted or super notable or not. Most likely it would be a video about one in particular. I would recommend a similar video of mine, but this is the first one of this type. Though I have at least not made 50 videos about Skibidi